Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Faitheism Project podcast. This is episode 20 of season 2.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing. My name is Alan Katz, and I have always been grateful to Hebrew School for making me the atheist I am today.
And my name is Randy Lovejoy, and I have stepped outside of the institutional church to help guide people deeper in the faith. And I am looking forward to this conversation because, good grief, given all that's going on in our lives, I think we just need to be able to process things with one another. And I'm hoping we can be that for each other and for the folks that are listening as well.
And a week like few others. This week, we're going to talk about the subject today is fight or flight, which is kind of a part 2 to our previous conversation, which was about one's moral compass. And to have the incident in Texas happen in between those two conversations kind of drives the whole point of those two conversations home. Every time there's a bit of gun violence in America, which is like every day, we feel like, but when it's the big ones, we feel like we're at an inflection point. And then it passes and it turns out, no, we weren't at an inflection point. This one feels, so far, very different. Like, yeah, we really are at an inflection point. That suddenly this is that one violent act too many, and the wound will not heal, and we will not go quietly back into the night and wait for the next one. I certainly hope that's the case, because this is terrifying.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's on top of the one in Buffalo before that. And,
yes.
and I think to me, it's tough to even think about this issue on its own, just because it's stacked on top of so many other things. I mean, if you just, we ought to just try going back, event by event or week by week almost. It's like, okay, Texas, Buffalo, then before that, we were already dealing with, the inflation and gas prices, and then before that, we had Ukraine. Before that was, gosh, I don't even know what, but we could say pandemic. Before that was Afghanistan. Before that was the elections. It's just one thing after another.
It's like the end of time.
Of course, I forgot the Roe v. Wade leak as well.
Gosh, yes.
And
what's going to happen when that decision drops in the next week or so?
Yeah, and even the Durham case that's going on. I mean, there's just so many different layers of things going on that, to me, that's where you kind of in your lower points, lower times are kind of like, is there an island somewhere? Maybe I've heard that, there's a couple of islands for sale in the Caribbean that might go cheap because of the slimy guy that owned them beforehand. So maybe I could buy that island and
Jeffrey Epstein's island cheap.
That's right, and just go hide there. So that's where the flight things comes in. Is it's just like I can't keep taking in one thing after another, although, and so to me, that's where the flight part of it comes in. But then even the fight part of it is kind of like, well, then what would be the strategy if we do stick with this and try to work it through? It's just, there's so many different things layered on top of each other, and we're all still recovering from well over a year that our lives were massively just thrown totally out of whack. And it's overwhelming. It's just overwhelming. And I think most people, except for the small, I think, percentage of us that thrive on such upset, For most of us, it's kind of like, could we please just stop for a little bit? I just need a little recovery time, to be able to figure out what all this means. But,
and yet that's the break never comes.
yeah. And one part of this that I've been working with, there's a guy named, I've mentioned it before, but Charles Taylor is a Canadian philosopher that I just think's so relevant in terms of helping us understand how our culture got to the place that we are today and what makes us tick and all of that. One point, he's got a book called Modern Social Imaginaries. How's that for a philosophy?
Modern social imaginaries.
Yeah. But where he's talking about how did the world that we live in today come into existence, given how different things were, in the 1700s, say, in the West, that a lot of big things changed to get us to where we are today. But the one that's relevant to our conversation is he talks about public opinion and the emergence of public opinion as this sort of meta space where let's take the recent shooting. Okay, this is a shooting in a small town in Texas.
Right.
However, the way that our culture's wired up, this is not just the first article, it's the first 5 articles in every news outlet that we've got. There's assessments, people talking about it, people across the country saying this is what it means. No, this is what it means. Here's how we approach it. So there's kind of this, and I don't mean to be too negative, it's more descriptive. There's kind of an echo chamber where an issue happens and then it bounces around among media and intellectuals and leaders in our society. But the part that is most relevant to me is that this is something that we've created based upon an agreement that the conversations that are going on in this public opinion are essential to our individual lives. And I'm not saying that they're not, but what I am saying is I think we get confused a lot of times because in our minds, for example, with this shooting, it's as if the shooting happened in our community. It's as if it happened at Ivanhoe in our minds. But the reality is that you and I live in an area where that's quite different from Uvalde, Texas. And locally, it is not an issue that directly affects our lives right now. I'm just saying right now. But the way that it is in our minds, it's as if we've gone through it. It's as if we are responding to that thing happening to us directly. And it's as if, and it's a threat to us locally. And just the last part, and I'll end this diatribe here, but the end, I don't think it's a diatribe, but anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that it's really
you've done bigger
important
diatribes.
We separate out the world of public opinion from the individual life we lead, the relationships that we actually impact directly, and the local community that we have. Because honestly, all of those issues that I've mentioned, except for the pandemic, are issues that, strictly speaking to my orbit of people and my life, are not directly impacting the way I live. And that's not saying that I don't have to pay more for food or pay more for gas or whatever, but my life continues on as it did, before all of these things. But when you go into that world of the public opinion, it's as if it's this hyper stressed world. And that's, I think, why I have so many friends that are getting off of social media, is that they can't keep the stress level up. And they recognize that when they're engaging social media, they're starting to, it's whacking them out in a way that is affecting their local lives. So all that to
social
say
media is
that
unlike anything
Yeah.
else humanity has ever encountered.
exactly, yeah. I mean, even with like when it was in print form, which the public opinion was developing and it started in print form, but then it took more time.
Social
for you
media
to
and public
hear.
opinion are related, but they're not quite the same thing. Social media takes public opinion and weaponizes it.
It does. It does. It does. But it's I don't want to sound elitist, but it's there's a wonderful part of social media because it's accessible to everybody. Everybody can have a voice. There's a really negative part of social media because all of these people that don't know really what they're talking about or that just want to vent can get onto social media and use the events of, the events that get into the world of public opinion, like all of these that we've listed, use them for their own acts, the acts that they're grinding, and try to get everybody else hyped up about it. But it's not professional, which is good in a way because you can dismiss it more easily than, say, when you were back and we had Walter Cronkite saying something, at that time in US history. It was like, whoa, if Walter Cronkite says it, I mean, oh my gosh, but it's like, I don't know what, I guess the thing that I've been trying to deal with in my stress with all of this stuff is that our world of public opinion is dysfunctional and is sick.
So if
the world that I live in,
if we had two signs to hold up, fight or flight, as it concerns social media, would you be fight or flight social media?
Yeah, right. But I think what I'm trying to say is if you need to run from public opinion, i.e. unplug and focus on your local life for a while, which doesn't mean you ignore things.
All right, but can you have your own opinion?
Oh, totally.
Okay. What should inform your opinion? And hey, can you have an opinion about current events? Just because
totally.
Okay.
But
what should inform your opinion about public events?
I would say that,
so that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I would be a little controversial and say that your opinions on public events should be your hobby. Your way of life should be what you major on. How you actually live, the decisions you make, the interactions you have. That's what you should major on. And then as your hobby time, get involved in these macro public issues. But be careful with it because they're really whacked out right now. But if you're in a position of power, fine.
Can I make an observation?
Sure.
You are a preacher to the core. And you have suggested the behavior that would make a flock happier.
Exactly.
To
Yes,
disengage from the things that are upsetting and focus only on the things that are within your immediate control.
Or at least major on those, at the very least.
But hey, look, the reality is if you peek underneath the cover of what's happening in this world, you get sucked into it. You could begin to form opinions that suddenly it stops being a minor and it starts being a major.
Yes. Well, and for example, some of the stories that came out of January 6th, the ones that really caught my attention were some of the people who watched their family members become radicalized to the right, and it degraded their relationship with them. Suddenly, these issues that they were radicalized about became more important than their own family relationships, interactions, and engagements and even their own lives in a lot of ways.
But it wasn't.
That's dangerous.
But it's not just the public. I think you're asking a great question. You're raising a great point. When people become obsessed with these things, now we're into a very unhealthy focus. It's not what's happening inside their heads is less related to the public, to the event that's happening, the immediate event. I wonder if perhaps they're really not responding to something deep down inside of them that this public event is triggering massively.
No, I think so. I mean, I think it could even be something as simple as they're bored with their lives.
I think in some cases, the Buffalo shooter, I think boredom was one of the things that he said was the issue. Oh God, boredom.
I mean, I feel like that is probably, and this is a very untested theory, but I think a lot of the worst ideas have come from people that are just bored with life and have decided that they're going to take it upon themselves to make life better for everyone by their heroic action. And I think that could be at any part of the economic or educational spectrum of the community. And again, that's why, to me, if you focus, if you really focus and say the thing I'm number one responsible for is the relationships I have on a daily basis, the community, the local community I'm a part of, this is my number one responsibility. Beyond that are other responsibilities, but that's the number one. And I just think that could help us a little bit because honestly, do you know how many people were executed in Iran and Egypt last year?
In Iran,
and I have a point.
I'm willing to bet quite a few. Egypt, I don't know. How many?
It was the two of them together. It was mostly it was higher in Iran. Iran and Saudi Arabia.
Oh well, Saudi Arabia. Come on, they're
together. It was
they chop up journalists.
That's right. But there was this big report about it, and it said that it's gone up by 20% since last year. And in these two countries, it was over 300 people. But then as you read further down in the article, they said, and actually, we have no idea in China or North Korea because they keep that a state secret. But we would guess that in China, it's in the thousands. Okay. So The reason I bring that up is right now we have so much access to so much suffering that's going on in the world. I mean, it is everywhere. It is rampant. And we can actually access a lot of it, right? But I don't think we can handle all of it because we can't do anything about it. I can't do anything about executions in China or, I could write letters or whatever, but it's like I can't do anything about that. And really with Uvalde, I can get upset. I can support people, but bottom line, this is a crazy thing that's like, wow, or Ukraine, or, these are all things. I think part of the reason that people want to run from this stuff is just that there is no way that the majority of us can directly change the situation. Now we can in our own lives, but I can't help Buffalo. I can't help, and that's where I think, and again, I'm saying it as
here's where our paths diverge.
Yeah, go for it.
Because I'm quite convinced that I can make.
How can you change Uvalde?
Okay, I can't change it today, but I can I can help to be part of the process that there should never be another Uvalde. We're the only country in the world where Uvaldes happen.
No, it's a lot more frequent here, but we're not the only ones. So
Randy,
It's true. That's a fact.
number,
I mean, it's happened in other countries.
Randy, it's the number. We have school shootings. I mean,
The number, yes,
the number of
in
gun
greater
deaths, the number of
frequency, I give
violent
you,
gun
it's
deaths
just
in this
right.
country.
Right. It was just, you said no other country ever has this happen, and that's not true. But
Well,
we do have it much more frequently. I agree with you 100%.
Well, okay. When other countries have this happen, when it happened in Australia, they did something, and it hasn't happened since. England, same thing. At Dunblane, it happened, and they changed the laws.
Right.
And it hasn't happened since. And you know what? In Australia and in England, their kids don't have to do active shooter drills. We've normalized active shooter drills because the simple solution to the problem eludes us. Now,
I wouldn't say it eludes us. I would say we're of
right now
multiple minds on it. So, and we're split as a community, so we can't make any decisions.
With our current situation, it does impact. It can impact my life, which is why I feel I must do something, because guns don't respect borders. And one of the gun rights people will tell you, well, but Chicago has gun rights and has strict laws, and this place has strict laws, and as if the guns were going to respect the fact that there are borders. That's not how life works. You can't have gun control one place and right across the border, no gun control. It means the gun control here is wishful thinking at best. When Greg Abbott makes military style assault weapons available in Texas, he makes them available in California, because just as that young guy did, hey, he turned 18 and he went out and he bought 2 of them. Hey, he can't buy a regular handgun in Texas. He has to be 21. He can't buy a beer in Texas. He can't buy a beer or the handgun, apparently, because his judgment's not good enough to buy the beer or the handgun. But his judgment's good enough to buy the AR-15. Look, the logic of the law, there is no logic. It's almost determined to cause chaos. As we keep learning, look, with an AR-15, hunting is hunting, and that's a culture unto itself. We're not talking about that. Nobody goes hunting with an AR-15 unless you want chopped meat on the hoof. Nobody hunts with an AR-15. The only thing anybody hunts with an AR-15 is other human beings, as we keep learning. Now, the thought of all those military weapons on the street scares me, because I have kids, and I will do anything I can. I will scream as loud as I have to get those things off of our streets. It's not going to be easy, but I don't care. Hey, you're a Christian, the fight can take forever, but that doesn't mean you don't fight the good fight. I forced myself yesterday and this morning, especially, to watch every minute of those, especially when they put the kids and they talk about who those kids were. And I watch every moment. And this morning, I got to a point, it was so hard. I wept. I sat here in my sister's kitchen, and I almost screamed with tears. It hurt so bad, not for me, for them. It hurts to watch the pain these people are going through. And I can't, why that if I tolerate this, I am complicit in their murder, is how I think about this. I refuse to be complicit in their murders. I won't be. And so I will do whatever I possibly can to stop this from ever happening again. I'll shout, I'll scream, because yes, these weapons can touch my life. I don't want that. These weapons are touching my, for want of a better word, I'll use the word soul, and I can't bear it. And something in me, it's the fight or flight that we're talking about. It riles the fight in me like nothing else. And I feel compelled to, I can't think of any other way to put it, to go to war with
Oh, please
people
don't use that word.
I am a holy warrior. And
that's where I think we're headed. I think everybody's going to get freaked out about their issue, and to the point
I don't
that
have a gun,
violence.
but Randy, I don't have a gun. I don't.
Yeah, well,
I will not employ violence to accomplish my ends. I will employ reason and the vote and conversation. I will not bring a weapon to this fight. There are people on the other side who have told us they will bring their weapons. They always bring their weapons. Why are words not good enough for these people? That's my question. And that's what makes me want to fight, because they bring the weapon because they feel the weapon will beat my words. Obviously. I resist that, and I resent that. I will fight. I will not fight. I will hold up my fight card. There you have it.
All right, then. I don't actually know how to respond, but I get where you're coming from. I think there are a lot of people that would just be 100% lockstep with what you're experiencing and what you're going through. And
I'm not going through anything. I'm being empathetic to people who are going through something, and they need my.
I wasn't talking down to you by saying you're going through. You are going through an emotional cycle right now.
But honestly, I'm a socialist at heart. I really am. And I see it's we over me all the time. It's we. I will do better when we do better. Me counts on we. That's how I think of the world. And if I see we suffering, then me is suffering. Me can't do good if we isn't doing good.
But is your we limited to the United States?
No. I can, I we as much as I can. If I could we the whole world at one time, I can. I got to prioritize my battles, because there's only so much of me, and I've only got so much time. If I could,
and that's what I'm saying is that
if I could step forward and help the Palestinians, I would help the Palestinians, because I don't think it's fair what's happening to them. I don't think what's fair in Ukraine. I don't think it's fair what's happening in Yemen. I don't think it's fair what's happening in Saudi Arabia to the people. There are places all over the world where if I could be a superhero and fly off and do something, I absolutely would. My life is good. My life is terrific. What can I do to help somebody else?
Right. And I mean, I think at least in the part of prioritization is what I'm talking about, in human limitation. And the fact is, I can have a much more immediate effect in my local community or in the relationships that I have. And that's where
can't one do both? Can't one do both? Why is one limited?
I don't know, because there are so many different issues that come up.
Choose one
on a monthly basis.
Choose one.
I don't think that's what people are doing. I think what we're doing as a society is we're going from one moment of rage to the next, and we're not solving any of the problems. Because there's so many things that hit us that we rage on different things, but we never actually, we're overwhelmed. I don't think we can focus and be effective.
But is the correct answer to shut down and
no.
go, you know what? Not my problem.
It's not. The correct answer, in my opinion, is to say, what are the issues that are front and center in my life, my relationships here, my local community? And that's where I'm going to put most of my energy, rather than putting most of my energy in these larger macro issues that, at least for me personally, I'm not in a position beyond voting to be able to change at this point. But there are local issues that
I'm a prisoner of my genes. My great grandfather was named Havis Cohen. And he came from Lithuania. He was from Vilna. And he came with, during the 1880s, during the Great Immigration. I think that part of my family came. And when everyone arrived here in America, everyone hurried to become American citizens except for Havis. And Havis did not want to become a citizen of America because he thought of himself as a citizen of the world.
Yeah,
I understand some of that. I get that. And as locally as I live, and as you know, I'm actively engaged in my local community, and I do things in my community, but the world is my community too. And that to me is inescapable. And I feel as responsible for that community as I do for my local community.
right. And I hear you. I think that the challenge there, though, is the further you get outside of your own context, the more you cannot assume that you have the answer for the people you're trying to help. And that is essential. You have to start with the people.
Wait. You are in the midst of writing a what? You're writing a book, aren't you?
Yes.
Do you intend for this book to sell within the community, your local community, or do you intend for this book to go out to the world?
Well, I think it's mostly Western the way I'm approaching it. If there's anybody non-West, that'd be fine. But the Western world is in a particular struggle.
The Western world covers a lot of territory. You could still sell a lot of books out here in the Western world.
Oh, sure. And I don't have a problem with that. But part of the way I'm approaching it is that I'm trying to empower people to do whatever they need to do in their local community. They make the ultimate decisions on that, not me. I'm not trying to come in and tell them how they should live.
But you are preaching to the world, Randy. You're not preaching to your local community. You're outreach. In fact, the whole church you're building, you're not trying to talk to just the people in Echo Park or Silver Lake or Los Feliz. Your reach by design, by necessity, is the world beyond your local
Agreed.
community.
But again, I'm not trying to tell them how they should practically live out their lives.
Are you not?
I am not.
Are you not?
No, I am not.
What are you advising
that's going to be a
do?
big difference because see, that's the thing is Christianity at its core is not a Western moral code. That's what people think it is, but it's not. It's an approach to life, yes, but it looks very different in different places and different times.
Take the moral out of it. It's moral code is neither here nor there. That's quite relative. But
well, I mean, Kant kind of boiled it down to that.
But it's still it is. You are advising a way to approach life holistically.
Yes, but again, I'm not telling
what they do with
somebody
it locally is entirely up to them. Absolutely, but you're
yes,
and frankly, what I think is the genius of your approach. I'm going to hoist you on your own petard, damn it. What I think is the genius of your approach, Randy, is that you are preaching a holistic approach to life. Yes, where you might approach your immediate environment first, but that's just what the reader does. I'm talking about you in the way that it relates to me, because in the same way that I feel compelled to touch the world outside my community and to try to make it a better place. Hey, it's Tikkun Olam.
Sure.
We are doing the exact same thing.
Sure, but here's the difference, which is that the conversation right now about the shooting in Texas, in a particular small town in Texas, and Texas is a big state, and different parts of Texas have a very different feel and a different culture and a different context. But what's going on is that there are people who have nothing to do with that area that are certain that they know how to solve the problem for that school and those people in that community. And without
Can we talk about one person
people
from Texas who was there, who went to the community and spoke in and that's Beto O'Rourke. Is Beto O'Rourke allowed to speak for part of the Texas community?
Yeah, for the ones that fit his demographic, yes. But I doubt that Ulvade fits his demographic.
He's running to be governor. If he's running to be
I
governor,
know.
then it is his obligation to be a public servant for everyone in the state of Texas.
Sure, but here's where you start.
That's the obligation, and the fact that he went, he did not go to rub anyone's nose in anything. Really, the point he went there to make is that the people up on that stage, Greg Abbott and Ted Cruz and all the people up there with him, every time this happens, they get up there and they make a great deal of noise about their thoughts and their prayers. But there was another problem happening here, which is where the bomb is going to drop. Unfortunately, they weren't honest about what happened there.
Well, right. But I think what's going to happen is the people that are actually live there are going to continue to work on this problem long after the media attention and the attention of people like Beto and others are going to shift elsewhere. But they're going to still have to live in that community.
They will be Beto's problem. If he wins the election, they are Beto's problem. And I bet you he makes them his problem, because he's
not going to win the election, but I hear you. He's not going to win.
I would be willing to bet that what happened yesterday when he stood in front of them is going to change whatever Greg Abbott, whatever his prospects were. That David and Goliath moment was.
Well, we will see. I think it'll probably backfire on him, but we'll see. I don't know. I haven't lived in Texas for 20 some odd years, so I don't know what.
I've never lived.
My point is,
and I have no. So I honestly can't say. True.
I mean, my point is, though, the people in Uvalde need to be front and center in the conversation.
No
but
argument.
That's not what's going to happen with the conversation in the public, in terms of public opinion at large. That's going to be guided and directed by faces on the news or intellectuals or journalists or politicians who don't know the community. And that's all I'm saying, is that's part of the dysfunction of this whole thing and why we're not getting anywhere, is because what
if that is not what happens this time? Because what if something elemental has changed? Look, we
that'd be wonderful. I think the next time we get together for another podcast next week, there will be a different issue that everybody will be focused on. Or if not, then at least within the next 3 weeks, it'll be a different issue that everybody's focused on, and this is going to have faded. Except for the people locally. They're going to still be grieving it and trying to figure out how to solve the problem. And I think I'm just talking priority. I'm not.
But when you get to that little nubbin to solve the problem, because their problem is not just their problem. Their problem actually touches everyone, because the same problem happens all over the place, and it happens for the same damned reasons. And so while their problem might be their problem in their little corner of Texas, what connects us all as a community of people, and this is where, and again, I disagree with you, I find commonality in them regardless of the fact that I don't live where they live. I find commonality with their humanity.
Well, sure, I do too. I don't think they're not human or something. I mean, what I'm saying, I'm not sure.
Cynicism.
I'm not sure the elite class are human. If
I don't care about the elite class, I'm not talking about.
Well, they're the ones making the decisions. They're the ones who lead the discussion and make the decisions. They are the ones.
We are talking fight or flight, and I am talking about me fighting. I don't care what anybody else does. That's the nature of a fight. I'm not fighting because other people are fighting. The question was fight or flight.
I hear you.
I'm here to fight.
And you are.
I fight for the reasons that I fight.
To fight all you want to. That's totally fine. I can't hinder that. Nobody else can hinder that. You can decide, thankfully, in this country to do however you want to respond. And that's fine. That's fine. I'm just saying that I think probably the most fruitful way to respond to fight is locally. That's where I
Would you
can
call
have the
that-
greatest.
So
impact.
it's flight from the worldwide. You're so
No,
so
no,
you're
not
fleeing
the
from
worldwide.
the larger conversation to a smaller conversation that you can manage.
It's listening to the larger conversation. That's fine. But it has to be translated into the particular and the local to be effective. Because otherwise, any of the issues that we're dealing with, they're different regionally. The way you respond within different regions of the country would be different. And that's why we have representation across the country.
Do gunshot wounds work differently in Texas? They don't.
No,
A gunshot
no,
wound is a gunshot wound is a gunshot wound.
I'm not talking about
and a dead
gunshot
child
wounds.
is a dead child is a dead child, and a grieving
Right, I
parent is a
know.
grieving
Yes,
parent.
every child. Yes, agreed.
And
That
I'm
is
simply
something
saying-
we all have in common. But a child who has been shot among the Uyghurs in China is also a child, and so there has to be a way to figure out, why is it okay to stop at the borders if the main principle, as it seems like you're arguing right now, is that a child is a child is a child and a gunshot wound is a gunshot wound. Well, then it should be global.
But you seem to be arguing, if I can't solve the global, then I should just quit.
I didn't say that. I have never said that once.
But you did.
What I'm saying is that
what about? But if you're going to, what about the Uyghurs? Well, okay. If I'm trying to solve this problem, what about the Uyghurs? Okay. So I can't talk about this.
No. I'm not. I didn't say that related to the problem. Okay. No. The reason I brought up the Uyghurs was because you said a gunshot is a gunshot is a gunshot. A dead child is a dead child is a dead child. It's not regional. And so my point was, if that's your main argument, then how do you limit yourself?
No, it's not my main argument. That's my reaction to why does it all matter? Because it all matters. And
again, I haven't said it doesn't matter. I haven't said that it doesn't matter. I haven't said that you should run away. I've said my point is the most effective way for us to respond is locally, because we actually have the power to make a difference locally. And if we would all respond locally, then we would have a much better
code should shut up and bring nothing. That it's their problem and their problem uniquely.
No, I never said shut up. So that's
no. I know you. I put that word in your mouth, and I shouldn't. I apologize. But you're saying
no. What I'm saying
problems are local problems, and no one outside that locality can solve their problem or even comment on it because you just don't know.
No, I'm saying that they need to be the number one voice. Their thoughts, their issues, their problems.
Of course.
They need to be listened to.
But what if,
or else we're not going to get anywhere.
But what if they agree with what the outsiders are trying to do?
Then that's fine. But I just don't think that's often the case. So that's fine.
Let's blue sky. What if this one time, suddenly the outside world and the inside world, what if that happened? Hey, I can dream, can I?
You could totally dream. All I'm trying to do is to say, well, where can I route my energy in a way that I can see some change happen, feel like I got some forward progress, and seriously make a real difference. And I think there's, there's so many issues locally here that need to be handled. And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't be concerned about gun violence. I'm just trying to say that, we've lived long enough now that I've seen this cycle again and again.
You're catching up, but no.
No, but we're in this same cycle. It's like outrage, politicians take sides, fights and battles, attempts at new legislation, then, new outrage, people upset, fights and battles, da-da-da. And now there's another outrage. And it's just like, my problem is if that cycle actually resulted in change that strengthened our nation.
It's a struggle. It's like Christianity's a struggle, isn't it? Isn't it a pursuit of a promise? Isn't Christianity pursuit of a promise? That's what you said. It's about, but I'm after the same promise. It's a struggle.
Well, that's fine. And if you're good, and a lot of people are, if you're good with the cycle going as it is and waiting for the next bad thing to happen, getting upset about it, gathering about it, blah, 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 and then moving to the next one. It's just, for me, I can't live off of that. I cannot live off of this constant cycle of issues in different parts of the country or the world that I need to be upset about, that now filter into all of my conversations until the next one comes. Because in my mind, that results in, it drives you nuts, or you're not thinking deeply about stuff, or you're not solving anything. Because it's just, I mean, like, you know, the racial issue used to be a big deal not very long ago. Where's that? I don't know. It's kind of evaporated because everybody's on to the next thing. And as soon as the Supreme Court makes their decision,
oh, well, yeah,
you know, this issue is going to disappear.
Randy,
it's going to be covered over.
We're at the spear tip of a whole other terrific conversation. And it's something, this is one of the places where we part ways, and you go one way and I go the other, which, look, this is part of what makes the relationship work.
Right. It's the point.
In the old days, this made us crazy.
Right.
We would lose our minds at this moment. But it's a testament to the progress that we have made, that we can come to this point. And we've gotten much better at literally bumping into this point where we have a true philosophical difference. And the thing that I find myself smiling at is just watching how we've gotten quite good at really respecting each other's differences on this point.
Totally.
Really,
yeah, no, I agree. And on that bombshell, yes, you got
to get the hell out of here.
I do want to say too, though, chapter 2 that I just sent you.
Yes.
If you read that,
I plan to.
You will understand a little better why I'm coming at the angle that I'm coming from. I'm not.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It is all about the attempt to try to deal at a macro level with the injustices of the world and where that travel took me. So I think you'll find it interesting, and I can't wait to get your critique on it, because anything you want to push back on, go for it. So it'll make it a stronger chapter. So.
Here's my one concern, Randy, for you having given me this, is you've given me all kinds of secret weapons.
I know, I'm giving you so many weapons you can use against me.
Oh my God, what are you doing? Are you out of your mind?
I know. How am I going to win this thing? You know, I mean, so, which again is the point of this conversation, isn't to win. The point is
it really
to grow together. I think that's the point.
It really is. It's to begin to hear each other. And again, yes, and I do hear you. And my goal is to try to find a way to that, or to find a way to understand it better, or to bring it closer, but this is the nature of what we're trying to accomplish.
Oh yeah. No, this is all good stuff. I'm loving it. So thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm sure we need to be back on this topic again sometime as well. Because like you said, we just barely scratched the surface, I think. And
it will come looking for us. I have a feeling.
That's right. I agree.
Hey, you got to go pick up your kid. Thank you as always, Randy. Thank you everyone for joining us on.
Thanks for being with us. Yeah. And we'll see you next week.
We'll do it again.
Okay. Bye-bye.